Right now, India's workforce, thankfully, is much, much larger. We have so many people on shop floors, on factory floors, so many people who have access to regular income of salaries. But do they have access to advice, to understanding, to a place where they can ask questions and talk about the challenges they face with their money? Some of the examples that we wanted to talk about: a 33-year-old Salesforce person who at the end of the month needs money will wind up borrowing from community lenders, paying a lot of interest when that money is actually in their salary already. Or a 28-year-old plant operations executive can't finance a challenge of healthcare in their family, winds up borrowing ad hoc from someone who will charge them a large amount of interest. And post-COVID, we've just really learned that a hospital bill can bankrupt a family. And that's really true about India. And even though I know that many organizations now still offer health insurance as that one perk that we do get, it doesn't cover a lot of things and it doesn't cover prolonged illness. So is there a solution via the good people of HR that we can offer people who are starting their careers, who are mid-career, to solve the challenges of financial understanding?